Hello! So we are at a very rainy Boston in the USA today with the Inibuilds or Asobo licensed Inibuilds Airbus A330 in the simulator. So let's go and have a walk around with the new walk around view and have a look at this colossal aeroplane. It's huge, isn't it? So we're going to work through starting the airplane up and getting it into the air. We're not going to do a whole flight, because this aeroplane is really designed to fly halfway around the world, and we don't really want to be doing that on a YouTube video, do we? So let's go and remove the chocks, and remove the covers, and remove the engine covers. That's not the pilot's job, but we'll do it. We'll step up. It looks amazing, doesn't it? Very, very. This is the freighter version. There's all the variants are available. You can get VIP variants, you can get normal passenger variants, there's lots of liveries as well, so we're just going with the stock one at the moment. So if we go and jump inside the aeroplane, I'm actually going to follow written procedure that I've written up, a functional procedure. It's not accurate to the real crew, what the real crew might do. It just does the essentials that are supported in the simulator that are more or less correct in the order that things happen in. And we'll have to use some custom views along the way, so the document I've prepared has all the details on how to make custom views in the simulator as well. So, we press Shift and C to jump inside after we've done our checks outside. It's really dark in here, isn't it? So should we go and see if we can fix that? So if we go overhead, we're going to turn the battery lights on. So 1 and 2. And some of the lights come on. You can see we've got external power available, so we're going to switch that on, and the backlighting switches on for everything, which is good. Let's go and see what we can do about this lighting. So we've got the dome lights here. We'll go and put them to bright, and I don't think it really helps too much with the overheads, but at least you can see from the backlighting where things are, which is better than nothing. Okay, so while we're here, we need to go and put the strobe lights on to auto. We put the Navan logo lights to 2, and the master switch for the APU goes to on, and then the start switch for the APU goes to on. And we can then switch on the crew oxygen supply, go and put the emergency exit lights to armed, put no smoking sign to auto, and then up overhead, rotate the ADIRS knobs or selectors to nav. I've preset the aircraft in the tablet to do instant alignment, so we don't have to wait for 7 or 8 minutes for them to align. Okay, so after we've done that, we can press Shift and Space and come down in the cockpit and decide if we want to change the brightnesses on any screens. I think they all look fine. And then we're going to go over to the tablet next, and we're going to go. Now you can, in the options in the tablet, you can configure your SimBrief pilot ID and it remembers it. You can also calibrate your throttle. So I've also gone and said rudder controls tiller yes. So in other words, when I use the rudder control, the nose wheel steering is also controlled. So you can see there's the IRS align time as well. So I've got a flight plan from Boston over to Denver in SimBrief. So I'm in the dashboard here. I'm going to go and pull from SimBrief, and it will pull the data down. And then we can go to the payload page, and we can pull the payload down from SimBrief, so you can see it populates. Then we apply the load to the aircraft, and we can do that instantly. So we've now got an aircraft full of whatever the payload is we are carrying today. So it's saying there payload applied, which is good. And then we can go down to the takeoff page. So we can press the sync button, which will fill in all the numbers for us. And then, but we still need to populate the weight of the aircraft. So back in the payload page, we can get the live gross weight, so 187.4. So if we come back in here, click in weight, backspace through whatever's in it, and put in 187.4, and then click on calculate, and it'll work out the V speeds and the trim levels and things like that. And then we can send that data straight to the FMGS, which is the Flight Management and Guidance System. And we can head over there next. So if we go Alt and 2, this takes us over to the MCDU, which is the Multi-Purpose Control and Display Unit. And we can press the Init button. And it will it's complaining at the moment the aircraft position's invalid. We'll soon fix all of this. This is all historic notes that came up on the screen while we were elsewhere in the aircraft. So it's important you keep this cleared down. So when something does happen that you're not expecting, you'll see it crop up. Okay, so we can do an init request to fetch from SimBrief. And there comes our flight plan. And we can clear out that message as well. We can do the IRS initialization and come back. We can then go sideways, and this is important. You have to do this before you really do anything else. So go and put your weights in. If you go and start moving in the aircraft, you can't get back into this page to put the weights in, but you'll still get a complaint on the ECAM screen that you haven't put any weights in. So we need our zero fuel weight and our zero fuel weight center of gravity. So if we go back over to the tablet and go to the payload page, we've got our zero fuel weight is 161.1 tons, so 161.1, and the center of gravity is 26.6. So 161.1 slash, so we're copying the format of this field up here, and we want the center of gravity next. So we go and remind ourselves what it was. It was 26.6. So come back over, so 161.1 slash 26.6, and drop that into that field. So then it comes up saying fuel planning. If we just say fuel planning, we don't have to put the block fuel in, it will work it out for itself. So it's populated it, and we can then confirm the block fuel and give it a few seconds to do its calculations, and all the numbers fill up. Okay, so we've done the fuel planning. So then we go to the flight plan button, and we're going to go and set our departure and arrival in, because when you pull from SimBrief it doesn't set up the actual departure and arrival details. So let's go and have a look at our flight plan and see what we've got.
Is at 10,500 feet.
Before we do anything else, should we go and detune the comm radios? Otherwise they might be really annoying. We'll do the same over the other side. Okay, so come back over to the MCDU. So we were going to look up the departure. 33 left and the Highland 7 SID with the Highland, so it probably won't offer us a transition. So we go and select Boston and go to departure, and we go 33 left and scroll up, Highland 7, there it is, and insert that into our flight plan. So by the same token we can figure out how we're going to arrive at Denver. So it's runway 16 left and the Law GR3 with the brewery transition. So we select Denver, arrival, what did we say? 16 left, 16 left, Law GR3 with the brewery transition. Law GR3 with the brewery transition, insert that in. So now we need to go and scroll through and see if there's anything we need to fix. So yeah, there seems to be a bit of a bug or a bit of strangeness in the MCDU of the Inibuilds Airbuses. Normally if a SID ends on the same waypoint as the start of the route, it won't put a discontinuity and it'll clean it up because it realises that it's the same thing. But this doesn't, so we have to go and clear it. And it will actually clear up that there was a duplicate. Look, there's only one there now. So then if we scroll on further down, is there anything else to deal with? Any manual steps? Doesn't look like it, does it? It's looking pretty good. Oh no, here's one, look. Just before Kick Me. That's a good name, isn't it? So it's because there's a manual in front of it. So in the real world you wouldn't do this, but I'm going to clear out the manual step, which will allow me to then clear out the discontinuity. Okay. So, having completed working on the flight plan, we can go over to the performance button, and you can see when we push the data across from the tablet, when we click that button to push the data to the FGCMS or whatever it's called, it puts these numbers in here, so we can just transfer them into the boxes next door. 133 for the V2 number, And then we want the flap and trim settings, so we can go over to the tablet. If we go to that takeoff calculator, we've got flaps 1 and a trim of 4.4 up. So if we key into the scratch pad 1/4.4 up, we can put that into flaps, and then we want the flex temperature. So then if we go shift 5 again, flex temp is 43 degrees. So we'll key in 43 into the scratch pad and drop it into the flex temperature. And we can confirm our takeoff data. We can clear the message out and then go and look through the next phase of flight. So this tells you you've got a cost index of 10, max speed of 250 on the climb out. And you can go and look through it all. Obviously the approach phase won't be populated, you don't do that until you're in flight. But obviously we're not doing the whole flight today because we'll be in the air for hours on the way to Denver. Okay. So we can go back into the cockpit now, having done that. And we can say, set the QNH on the altimeters, so we can press comma to shortcut doing that, so you can see the altitude changing there. Then go over to the FGCP, which is over here, and we can go and pre-configure it. So we're going to go and turn the flight directors on. There's an interesting thing here, look, it puts it into managed mode automatically when you put the flight directors on. I don't know how accurate that is. It doesn't seem accurate. But we put flight directors on both sides. Although it's gone to managed mode, it's sometimes worth going in here and presetting it for what you would like if you have to drop out of managed mode. So we're going to say at least 200 knots. And then put it back into managed mode. So we click the top half to go back to managed mode. Same for the heading. We're going to go and put the runway direction in, which is 330 degrees. Whoops, gone too far. It's got a bit of an acceleration on it, by the look of it. And then put it back into managed mode. So you're kind of hiding data. So what cruise level are we at today? I've gone and closed the browser, haven't I, with SimBrief. We could get it from the operational flight plan, but this is, I'm just showing you different ways of doing things really. So if we go to the dispatch system at SimBrief, and we view our flight plan from Boston over to Denver, 38,000 feet. So 38,000, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's doing managed mode climb, but again, you could, if you wanted, go and select the climb rate to get that. So until it does get managed mode, you could say go at 2,500 feet a minute, and it will actually mix both modes together. Okay, so we've got all of the FGCP programmed up, so then we're going to go overhead and we're going to tell everybody to put their seatbelts on now. We're going to remove the external power because we no longer need it because the APU is up and running. And I'm just checking on my checklist that I haven't missed anything obvious. So this is the point we would push back. I've deliberately not put us on a space where we need to push back. Part of the reason for that is there seems to be a few bugs in the aircraft, so it doesn't like pushing back for some reason. So I'm hoping when we come off the brakes and start rolling, it will actually start rolling. We'll soon find out. It may be to do with the tractor controls, I'm really not sure. So we're going to go back inside, clear out the master caution. So professional pilots will tell you should always clear the master caution, otherwise you don't know what told it. So we have got APU bat off. Oh, that's interesting. I thought we put that on earlier. So we're going to go and start the engines up. So to get that to happen, we need to go and put the fuel pumps on overhead. Whoops, wrong button there. So there's 2 clusters of fuel pumps overhead. Then I'm going to use my controls to do this. We're rotating the ignition system to start, which makes the engines appear on the ECAM screen. And then we're going to advance these 2 switches. Again, I've got controls for it, so I'll do the right engine, or engine number 2, first. And it hasn't done it, and that's because I've deviated from the script. I haven't put the APU bleed on. So you need the compressed air to spin the engines up. Okay. So we come back down, and this time it will work. There we go. So the telltale is you get a highlight on N2, This just goes to show how important checklists are. If you get distracted by anything at all, like me going off to show you about the problem with the tractors at the moment with this aircraft, then it throws you off and you miss something. You miss something minor, which means, oh, I can't start the engines. I wonder why that might be. And it's always something trivial that causes it. So as the engine spins up, you'll see it will start generating electricity, and some other systems will come on around the aeroplane that weren't on before. Things like TCAS, or certainly the checks for them being on will appear. So 40%, 50, I think it only gets to about 60, it usually the ignition system finishes, so it's automatic ignition. There we go, look, some more systems have come online now. Now we've got the electricity being generated by the engines internally. So having done that, we can advance the starter for engine number 1, and you'll see it lights up and it's fully automatic, so it will get on with doing what it's doing, and we can let it go on with that. So to get a little bit ahead of the game, we can go and put our flaps to takeoff position, so that has to agree with what you had on your performance calculator. We're going to go and put the TCAS on, so we rotate this to auto, this one's already on, and we rotate this to TA, which means we are broadcasting our position. Okay, and we lift this seat up and we're going to put the predictive wind shear to auto. Okay, we can also pull up the ground spoilers lever, which pre-pressurizes it in case you need to do a rejected takeoff. You can do the same trick with auto brakes, you can put them on max. Okay, so that engine is just coming up, so we're looking good, and you can look around on here to see what's going on around the aircraft. So now both engines are on, we can turn ignition back to norm. We're still using external power. What is going on? Is this a bug? Did I not turn it off properly? So let's go and look overhead, shall we? So Alt and 1. Oh, it's just saying it's available, basically. So we're going to turn the APU bleed off, and then we're going to go back down to the tablet, go to ground, remove the GPU from the aircraft, and then if we go and have another look, we should see, yeah, everything's a lot happier now. So it's saying the ground spoilers are armed, no smoking light is on, seatbelt lights are on, the parking brake is on, APU is available. So we don't need the APU anymore because the engines are up and running, so we can turn the APU off completely now. And we are ready to taxi. So I say ready to taxi. There's some little bits and pieces to do. So we've done the predictive wind shear, we've done the ground spoilers, we've done we'll put the nose light to taxi, and we should be good to go. So let's find out where we are on the airfield. We're right up in this corner, so we need to go straight ahead, then turn right, and go weave our way all the way down. So actually it might be better to take Alpha all the way around, or Beta, or Bravo, sorry, wrong alphabet. Take Bravo all the way around, because we need to get to runway 33, which is a bit of a maze, isn't it, actually? Let's go and find our way as we go, shall we? So if we go and press backspace, come off the parking brake, ease the throttles forwards, so we'll follow the taxiways. Now, have we got any nose wheel steering happening? No, we haven't. Okay, so there seems to be a bug here, and we haven't got any toe brakes either. So if you find yourself in that position, what we can do is go into controls, go to the pilot. This is my joystick. I want to have one of the buttons on my joystick be the brakes. So I'm going to search for brakes, and I want that to be joystick button 1. And OK. Go back, save, back, and I can now stop the aeroplane, which is good. Back inside the aeroplane, let's go and double check that in the tablet. This might be a bug, you know. So I said in here, rudder controls tiller. And I said yes. Is there a nose wheel steering switch that we don't know about? Anti-skid and nose wheel steering. Let's cycle it. And see what happens. So if we go then back outside. So this has turned into a test session again, hasn't it? No, it's not going to turn. The nose wheel is stuck. How strange. Let's just see if it's reversed. It almost seems like it's reversed. So if we go to no on this, let's see if they've done it backwards. Or it's just not hooked up at all. No, it's not hooked up. They have forgotten to hook up the tiller. So how can we get around this? I have got an extra axis here that I could potentially use. So what we'll do is go to settings and go to controls. And on my pilot, I've got an extra throttle that I'm not using. I'm going to turn it into a rudder axis and see what happens. So if I search by input, slider X, and I'm going to go and I've done the wrong thing there. Search by input, slider X. So I will go in here and delete the assigned control and go back. And search by input now. So if I search for slider, there's nothing on it anymore. Okay, so now I'm going to look for rudder. Rudder axis is joystick R axis Z, which I haven't got. Okay. Although it should, that's my twist stick, is joystick R axis Z. So if I search for nose wheel or steer, nose wheel steering axis hasn't been set. That will be why. So I'm going to twist my stick. So we're solving this as we go. The number 1 means there's also something else on there. Go back, save and back, back. So I think we just solved it, that there was nothing. There we go, it's working. So it's just a control configuration problem that out of the box, the Airbus Captain's Pack was not set up with the rudder axis to be the tiller. So we've just dug ourselves out of a hole there. It's a big old lump of a plane, isn't it? Clear that tail. Oh, inches away. Why is it every flight I do at the moment turns into a test session instead of just demonstrating? I end up having to solve problems every time. So we're coming along Alpha at the moment. And if we were to skip out to Bravo, we could do it now, couldn't we? Then we're not so near to other aircraft either. Doesn't like going too fast. Won't steer, obviously, because there's, 100 tons of aeroplane. More than that, 160 tons of aeroplane doesn't steer very well, funnily enough. It's quite a lot of stress to put through that tiny little leg at the front of the plane, isn't it? Boston behind us. Republic Airways, I don't know where they're from. Okay, is it easiest for us to take this next one? It is, isn't it? And then we can go along Charlie all the way down. So we go all the way along Charlie, then Charlie, kink right, and that takes us to 33, so that's 33 over there. Make sure there's nothing coming. Should we do this from inside now? So we can sit up if we want a little bit, see over the nose. Interesting. Wonder what the clattery noise was. Can't have just been the cat size, can it? I don't think that was modelled in this aeroplane. Maybe it is. So we'll roll straight out onto runway 33 left. As I said, I'm not going to fly the whole flight. I'm just showing you the basics of getting the aeroplane up and out. Okay, so line up. Parking brake on for a moment. So now we are lined up on the runway. We're going to go and put the landing lights on. Put the nose light to takeoff. The beacon light can go to on there instead of auto. Strobe light can go on. Did we not put the beacon light on earlier? I thought we had done. This aeroplane is making me second guess everything every time now. So we're essentially ready to go. So let's just double check what's going on down here. So flaps are in position. Everything else is done. So parking brake off. Going to full throttle. It should kick in the auto throttle, and it has. We're in managed mode, so it should follow the constraints up to 38,000. We can see the navigation display there ahead of us. We could put constraints on if you want to see them. Has he got fire on his tail or something, or is that an animation issue? So coming up through rotate speed. Gear up and autopilot on. And let the aeroplane take care of itself. So throttles back to the climb to tent. Just pull us down in the cockpit bit. Oh no, we can see throttle climb has just appeared. To appear. So we're edging up back towards 180 knots. Now it's done the initial climb. So we'll go and erase the flaps name, and we can have a look from outside. So that was basically, you know, the basic steps. It was good actually that we saw that nose wheel steering issue, because lots of people are going to see that. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, how many small little things you take for granted that you configured in the past. But obviously with the new simulator, we're seeing them at every step of the way. It's a proper foggy, horrible, it's like this all over the world at the moment, I think. We probably need to have a look at the anti-ice measures as well. But anyway, we've done the basics. So if we did want to go and deal with the anti-ice, they're just up above, so we can go and turn things on if we need to. So obviously as we climb out, the temperature's going to drop like a stone. So coming up to 2,000 feet, and we're off to the races. The nice thing about the Airbus is once it's all fully configured, it takes a long time to configure it, but once it's all done, unless ATC throw you a curveball, it's pretty straightforward from then on. So there's the Highland waypoint. So hopefully you enjoyed that. We saw quite a few bits and pieces there. The major difference between this and the A320, as far as I can see, is the requirement to go and put the weights in the MCDU. The Airbus doesn't require you to do it, or it doesn't complain about it. This does vociferously. So there you go. So we don't have to arm the ground spoilers anymore. Coming up to 5,000 feet, seatbelts are still on, the anti-ice measures are still in place. Anyway, I'm starting to fly the route, aren't I? I should stop myself. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again soon.